Hey there everyone, thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about From Fire and Shadows. This is a book that unfortunately I did not finish. There were just a lot of issues that I couldn't get. I couldn't even get 20% through this book. I'm sorry. And, I couldn't. So this video is probably not going to be very long. One of the biggest issues I had with it were the lack of world building with this novel. It had a really strong opening. So that first chapter, well, not even the first chapter, those first few pages were very engaging to me. I was very intrigued. But of course, I didn't really have a sense of this world that we were going into. I didn't have a sense of who this character was and how magic functions in this world. And for the character Theodora, she really didn't have a sense of knowledge of this magic either. She just kind of had the magic, and something dramatic happens, lots of lives are lost, and then she's sent to kind of be taken care of by this older dude, right? Whose name I've already forgotten. Yeah, that's how memorable this book was. But I didn't have a sense of this world. I didn't have a sense of how it functioned. Because they're going on this journey, and I'm just like, what? I was very confused by this world building. And what also threw me off was Theodora's tone. Right from the beginning, I didn't hear a 6-year-old. She definitely sounds so much older. And that's probably why I wasn't able to get lost in the world building, because I was very distracted. I had to keep reminding myself, she's 6. She's not 16. She sounds 16. And I just couldn't get past that. I kept getting thrown. Every time I was reminded that she's only 6 years old, I'm like, right, she's a kid. There were times, don't get me wrong, there were times where she did sound like a child, but for most of the time, her internal narrative, yes, some kids can sound mature. That's incredibly possible. You know, you meet kids like that all the time. I was one of those kids. Everyone said I was like 40 years old when I was 4. And it's not like it's so out of the box and unheard of, right? But there was very little context surrounding her, very little description. I really didn't get a sense of who she was, what she looked like. And that just made it harder for me to really just lose myself in the story. I could tell the author was trying to build a world, a world of magic. I just couldn't wrap my head around it because there were too many distracting elements. I didn't really grasp the magic, the different types of magic. Why was Theodora very important? Maybe if I had continued reading, I probably would have understood why she was important. But her tone, the narrative, the really just lack of detailing, there was a lack of structure in this whole quarter of a book that I managed to somehow read. It just lacked substance for me because I was just thrown. I was just distracted by everything else, and I wasn't really able to submerge myself in the story. And then you have Kai, his perspective. First of all, his perspective, yes, the blurb, the story synopsis just tell you he's going to have a perspective. Okay? You're expecting it, but when you're reading it, his story seems so disjointed. It feels like he's from another world. Like there are 2 separate stories that shouldn't be coexisting. That's what it felt like. 2 very separate stories. There was just no fluidity to it. There was no cohesion to it. And I didn't get a sense of Kai's world either. He's an assassin. That's what I was able to glimmer. But also there's this own language, there's a dialect. There's a glossary at the end of the book. Right. reader, I shouldn't be forced to have to go to the glossary to find out what they're saying. There should be context clues. You should be able to read a story and kind of get a gist of what they're saying through context, through clever translation within the storytelling. Again, read stories like that. Tolkien does it. A bunch of other authors do it, where they reinvent their own language. Or they're taking their own culture and putting it into the story. I don't know French, but I'll read a story with French. Because there's context. I'm not fluent in Spanish. I know I'm bad Mexican. But I will read stories with Russian and German or even your native languages. It's no problem to me. It's no hindrance to me. What is a hindrance is if I cannot figure out what they're saying through context. If there's not a clever way for the author to really translate what they're saying without it being an overt, oh, this person said this kind of thing. I need some sort of context to understand what's going on in the story, or else you're going to lose me. Because then you're just taking me out of the story. Every time I have to go to the back to look at the glossary to find out what the heck is going on, what the heck these people are saying, that takes me out of the story. And that further challenges me to lose myself in the story. Again, it's a story with potential. It is. Just wasn't working for me. There were just too many distracting elements that I couldn't see how these two stories were going to mesh together because they felt so disjointed. The worlds themselves, like the tone, the atmosphere, they felt so separated. They felt, again, like two separate stories that were going on here, and I just really couldn't understand it. I hated that. If I'm reading a story, I need some sort of cohesion. I need some sort of context. I need the narrative to match the freaking age of the character. Because her sounding like she's 16, and it's just like how the story was written too, like the tone, the narrative. She did not sound 6. She just didn't. And that is what was most distracting. I'm like, wait, she's 6? I had to keep reminding myself that she's 6 years old because she didn't sound 6. Her internal narrative didn't sound 6. Her chemistry with other characters didn't sound like she was 6. She just sounded so much older. And I get it. She went through something very traumatic. But even it goes beyond that. It starts right from the very beginning, before she went through the trauma. She sounds like she's 16. I need some clear indication of her age right from the beginning. I need the tone, the narrative to match her characterization. Otherwise, it was just really distracting to me. And I just wasn't able to lose myself in her. I didn't find her relatable at all. I didn't find her realistic at all. I was just like, what the... that was me. I was like, I don't understand this. I don't get this. I was thrown. So that, coupled with the, again, lack of cohesion, lack of world building, and then Kai, who's, I don't know why he was there, to be honest with you. His perspective just seemed very meh to me. It was just very bleh to me. It didn't feel like it added anything to the story. So all of that put together, I bet you can guess this book gets 1.5 stars, just to be nice, because it has potential. Again, that opening sequence was very well done, but everything after that just came off very disjointed. So it has potential. It was a story I was really excited to read. It definitely has a lot of potential to it, but overall, it just lacked substance. It lacked cohesion. It lacked a compelling protagonist. It lacked narrative and personality. And sorry, I just did not like this book, and I could not get lost in it. But again, that is my opinion. I would include a link of where you can purchase this book, but I've tried looking everywhere. The Amazon link on Goodreads doesn't work. I've tried just searching the book itself on Amazon, and I can't find it. It was published by Books Go Social. I cannot find anywhere where I could possibly purchase this book. So, you know, try looking it up for yourself. See if you have better luck than me. And if you do, you know, send me over the link, because my opinion is my own. And there were a lot of people online, you know, if you go on Goodreads, a lot of people liked it, you know. I wasn't one of them, unfortunately. This is one of those cases where I'm in the minority of disliking a book. But everyone seemed to give it, you know, 3, 3.5, 4, 5 stars. And I was just like, what did I miss? But you know, a lot of people liked it, just not me. My opinion is my own. I urge you to find a copy somewhere and figure out if you like it yourself. Maybe it's in the Kindle store? Who knows? All I know is that when I typed in the author, the title, in Amazon, it didn't give me any listings whatsoever. Couldn't find it on Bookshop. Couldn't find it in Barnes & Noble. I don't know if this book is published anymore. Maybe it's just being self-published by Books Go Social. Who knows? But I urge you to read it and form your own opinion. It's okay if you disagree with me. I like to think of books as art. They're open to interpretation. Everyone's going to feel differently about them. You don't have to like something just because everyone else does. And you don't have to dislike it just because other people do. So, once again, this was from Fire and Ashes. Unfortunately, it only gets 1 star from me, folks. On that note, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And please remember to share it with all your book-loving friends. You can also become a supporter on Buy Me a Coffee. There will be a link in the description below. Or you can support me by buying one of my handmade candles. My favorite is Hestia and Artemis. Hestia, it's vanilla and dragon fruit. And black oak currant and cedarwood and lavender for Artemis. They smell really good. Oh, and Eris. Eris smells like apples. Apples and bergamot. Those are kind of my top 3 sellers. And those are my 3 favorites, honestly. I love them all, but those are like my 3 favorites. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And as always, happy reading.